All right, we're back. We're flowing. Tara and I were just catching up because she was being a busy bee traveling this week. I do want you to share with the audience the milestone that we had. Obviously, don't tell me everything you just told me, but or tell them everything you just told me. But it was a big step for you in your career. And we were just saying how you can do all this prep to get there, and then it's like, oh shit, there is everybody.
There's
So if you want to
everybody.
start off, and then I'll say what I was about to say, and before I press record.
Yeah. Um, so I'll nutshell it. I've been, coaching for over 10 years, but really purposely working with my new partner, Sam Silverstein. Even though I trained with him for, I guess maybe 3 years ago. Um, I'm very used to delivering the material that I'm super passionate about and I have embodied it. I'm really passionate about all the material, but I'm also very used to Sam doing his part of the presentation. And we had a client call and they had an event that was coming up very, very quickly. We jumped right back into partnership with them, but Sam was not going to be available because he was off skiing in Switzerland. I actually think he skied from Switzerland to Italy that day to have lunch in Italy.
One way
Um,
crossing the border.
yeah, just, living the life, right? Funding the life that we want to live. So just total transparency. And I hope that this company doesn't listen to this, but I thought for sure, like, there's no way they're going to want just me. They called for Sam, and they're going to be so disappointed when they realize they're not going to get Sam. And oh gosh, I hope that this doesn't make me emotional. It might. Um,
Good, because then I
I
get my goal. I make you cry.
we just talked about this. Um, we put a proposal together for them, and they were totally fine with me going. And I kind of half invited myself, but they invited me into their first day of meetings. And normally we'll fly in, present, and fly right back out. So I actually flew in Monday night and then I got home yesterday, so Thursday morning. So I was with them from Monday night through pretty much yesterday morning. I said goodbye to everybody. Um, just building rapport and getting to know about their industry. Huge manufacturer in the steel industry. They manufacture um, graphite electrodes, and a lot of engineers in the room, a lot of, analysis, not, they have emotions, but it's a cry on the inside kind of group. And I did not really sleep the night before. I went through my presentation, a bunch of times. Sam pre-recorded a great kind of kickoff video. He edified me, he set the stage. And I had my section, of course, which I feel amazing about and I love talking about. And then I think my biggest thing was like Sam's section, and it's all material that I know, but he created it, he developed it. So his ability to really talk in between the lines is so special
Yeah.
and so powerful. And I was like, I want to make the same amount of impact that Sam makes. Like, I don't want to give them not one inch less of power than Sam would give them. And this has been something I've struggled with my whole life, and I think you can relate and listeners can relate. Is I want to be like that person, right? So like I want to be Sam, and then I've realized to be like someone, to emulate their traits, their characteristics, their impact, but to do it as you is the most powerful thing. So that's really something that I've been working on. And to have people in your life that believe in you, because Sam's like, I said, I'm going to make us proud, and he's like, I'm already proud. And I don't have a great relationship with my dad at all. And Sam's not my dad. We're partners, but there's this dynamic between us that,
Yeah, mentor kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah, it's a mentor, but like he really looks out for me. Like, talking about a leader,
Yeah.
like true leaders are always looking to develop their people. True leaders are always like looking to put their people in the best positions, challenge their people, all of that. And Sam really does that. So yeah, you can prepare all you want, but when you get in a room of almost 50 people that have the I will not show emotion, who really did not participate in almost any other part of the meeting, and here I am asking them to dig into who their heroes are and share that with the room and, set the stage to create a safe space. Had one of the gentlemen talking about his wife who was one of his heroes, and, tears came, and I'm like, good. Like, this is, if we're talking about this and you are not feeling passionate about it, if you are not going to a place where it really evokes emotion, then we're not digging deep enough.
Yeah.
So it sounds crazy to say, somebody cried and that was like my huge win. Um, but it was awesome. It was kick butt, and I got a round of applause, and an atta girl, good job from one of the older sales gentlemen that was sitting in the front.
Mm.
Um, and I got a lot of people to share and engage, and so it was great, and I had a lot of people talking about discs. So when you're out to dinner and the CEO said, y there's a big place called Kid Rock down there in Nashville. He's like, "I've never had the disc conversation come up at Kid Rock before, like, you really made an impact." So that's like, yes, we've infiltrated. We've got them thinking beyond just leadership training, which they get a lot of. Like, we could do training, but this is really development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple of things you said then. We didn't even get to the part that we were going to continue talking about, which is funny. Um, but something you said there really struck. And today, the main topic of conversation is going to be around what is a leader,
Mhm.
because I don't think people realize, and we'll talk about why this came to mind. But a lot of people don't realize that there's space to be a leader in all aspects of your life.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think you realized during doing this, and you probably already knew it, but we look to the people that we consider leaders, and yeah, we want to emulate them. Like there are speakers and coaches that I really look up to, and I want to model myself after. And even with you, like I want to learn how, because you're really good at some stuff I'm not good at. Like you're really good at with the leadership stuff. Like I want to do what you do, but you have then you step back and like, well, actually, they're really good at doing what they do because as a leader, they are just themselves.
Yeah.
So if we're trying to like if you had gone in there and tried to deliver Sam's content as Sam, it
Mhm.
wouldn't have worked. But you gave Tara's flavor of the content, and that's what worked.
Yeah.
And that's just a broader lesson in life of let's not try and be other people. Let's be ourselves. And yes, we can model us, how we talk and what we say and how we act on other people, but trying to be people that we're not is never going to lead
Yeah.
to the kind of success you want ever.
No. Or just regurgitating information. Sam reminded me, this is a conversation. This is not a presentation, right? Like people are sick of being presented to. Yes, you can present information, but it was a conversation, and I'm really amazing at having conversations, right? And I can facilitate really good
Yeah.
conversations. So anytime I go into mode of like, I must hit all of these points and say all of these words just like so and so would have said them, I sound like a robot. I look like a robot. It's not good. I get really nervous. Like I had to actually apologize, like, sorry guys, because I started going so fast, and I'm shaking. Like I shake for the first few minutes. I don't, I,
Which is like hearing that is really
yeah,
crazy to me, because to me, you're someone I just feel like is just so confident and poised all the time.
yeah,
So to hit like and you probably weren't coming
it's
across
both.
like you think.
Mm,
Like you may have looked a little nervous, but you probably weren't you probably weren't talking as fast as you thought and all of
yeah,
that. But you were saying before we started recording just how, you know, you came out of it, it was nerve-wracking, but now you want to do it again, which is great
yeah,
because sometimes it can go the other way. But like, I don't want to put myself through that again. That was
yeah.
awful. But it was something you said just about how you can prepare all you want, but the minute you're in front of people,
Oh
it's
yeah,
like all bets are off, because
all
you
bets are
at that
off.
point you're managing the emotions of the room. It's a lot different if you're just sitting here. We both do a lot of business online. It's a
Hmm.
lot different having someone there. Is better in some ways because you can just talk at the camera,
Yeah,
but I do much prefer having, I'm come from the performance world. I much prefer having people there. I can, take their energy. But at the same time, if you walk, I mean, I've experienced this. You walk into a room and it's just the energy's flat. You're like, how
hmm.
the fuck am I going to bring this energy up? Because I feel so awkward right now.
Yeah.
But, it sounds like you handled it perfectly.
So I think everyone has their own style, right? And because I had been able to build a little bit of rapport for the previous 24 hours, I'll do funny things. I make threats and promises in joking ways. So, I'll let them know. Well, first we'll set the stage. And my first question always is, who in here is a leader? And I ask them to raise their hands. And I'm always talking to rooms of leaders because everyone is a leader, but it is amazing to me. We skip past that question, which is really like this is the belief, their belief in themselves, their identity. You could train and develop and pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into that person. If they don't believe they're a leader, we've missed the most important step. So, I'll raise my hand and there's people, their hands shoot right up. There's other people that are kinda like this, and then there's always a few people that really don't raise their hand, and then I'll even say, like, "Okay, I'm gonna wait till everyone gets the right answer." I don't call anyone out, and then, some people will raise their hand. It's it's just amazing that we don't start there with people. Like, do you wanna be a leader? Do you view yourself as a leader? What do you need to do to be a leader? Because it's not a job title. A leader is
No.
not a job title. It is how you show up in this world. Whether you're leading a team, a company, your family, yourself,
Yeah.
like you're a leader. So how are you showing up? Because you make impact. Everyone, to me, a leader makes impact. So you're
Yeah.
always having an impact. It's just a matter of are you having a positive impact or a negative impact?
Yeah. And if you're not a leader, you're a follower. And
And you could be
see, I'm
both.
seeing, yeah, you see a lot of followers, particularly online.
Yeah.
People think they're being. It's just one of my. We've talked about it a lot in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but it's one of my gripes. I'm just seeing more and more. It's like I have to mute more and more people on social now of just
Yeah.
the constant like. There's this entitlement that you feel like your opinion is worth more than everybody else's.
Mm.
And I've seen people saying, "Oh, things that I agree with and that I believe in," that accusing those types of people of like, if you believe in that, you're drinking the Kool-Aid and all. I'm like, what makes you think that you're fucking smarter than me to come to that conclusion that I'm the follower? Did it ever occur to you that maybe you're just following what you're seeing and being told?
Yeah.
And I just feel like there's this thing in society now of like people just following along, being little minions, repeating everything they hear verbatim. And there's not enough leaders that are just quietly going about their lives,
Mhm.
leading by example. Everybody
Mhm.
wants to be quick with the mouth, but they don't want to
Mhm.
actually do any actions that show that they're leaders.
Yeah.
Um, but the whole, as we're in the conversation now, that this was kind of inspired by one of our listeners to the show. I won't say who he or she is,
Mhm.
but one of the comments was that they love listening to the podcast, even though that they're not particularly interested in being quote unquote a leader.
Mm.
And it just got me thinking, well, you are a leader because if, you're a parent. You know, maybe if you might not be working in a position right now that requires quote unquote leadership, but you're a leader. If you're making decisions like you said that are going to impact other people,
Yeah.
you're leading. You've got kids that look to you to see how you act and the decisions you make, and role modeling themselves after you, or modeling themselves after you. Like everybody is a leader.
Mhm.
And to my point earlier, I just feel like there are too many followers right now, that aren't
I
aren't
think they're leaders.
yeah, they think they're leaders, but
Yeah.
they're just not fulfilling the life that they think they have.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I mean, we're always looking to apply meaning, right? We're always looking to apply meaning to the information that comes in. And I think even the people that you're talking about, like, we're always looking for meaning in life. We're always looking to, like, where do I fit? Right. And it's easy to jump on something that's hot because it creates significance, right? If people are responding to me, whether it's good or bad, I'm getting attention. And
Yeah.
that's creating significance in my life. And so that's a basic human need is significance. But looking at, well, what kind of impact am I making? Am I spreading positivity, joy, growth, support, um, the things that I believe? And if there may be people that they're totally fine with what they're spreading, right? Like
Yeah.
they like to shake things up all the time. And I think that like, we're going to disrupt this industry. You and I certainly were coming through the real estate industry when all of the disruption conversation was happening. And they still use that. I don't hear it as much. But maybe we need less disruption. Like, yes, growth. I believe in pushing the machine until it breaks so that we can fix it and make it even better. But we don't need to be constantly shaking things up with nonsense just to fulfill a need to feel significant, because there will be someone that follows anything. I could
Yeah.
post right now, people that wear purple socks are the smartest people in the world, and I'll get like, you'll comment something snarky on it. I'll get 10 people that like show me their purple socks. I wear purple socks every day. I could probably find a Google article to support that. Um, but yeah, we're all leaders. Every single person is a leader.
Yeah.
And it's just making a decision on how you want to show up and how you want to impact this world and your family. And it really goes all the way back down though to who you are and what you wanna do and, like, your immediate people make it too big, like, that they feel like they have to have this big, huge impact to be a leader, or they identify people that have had really massive impacts. Where you spend your money, your voting, as
Yeah.
a leader, how you wake up and greet your children and your partner, like, you're setting the stage.
Yeah. Yeah, like I feel one thing I'm incredibly passionate about, and I don't talk about it too much on here, but you and I talk about it a lot. Just the country, the world really, but the US is particularly bad. Just the general health of people,
Mhm.
and I think it's a product of like forget which political side you're on. Like no one
Mhm.
can disagree that this is the most unhealthy fucking country in the world, and
Mhm.
it's because it's been captured by huge food conglomerate companies, huge pharmaceutical companies, huge medical companies, who, by the way, are all owned by the same fucking people.
Mhm.
So they all share their own interests together. There weren't enough leaders to prevent that from happening. So now we're in this position where, oh crap, like things are really bad. Like,
Yeah.
why do we have so much autism? Why are so many kids overweight and need to go on diabetes medication by the time they're 6 years old? Why is that happening? Thankfully, we're now seeing this new group of leaders, which I'm so happy to see. And again, this should not be Republican or Democrat. This is children and this is our health. I think we have one of the lowest life expectancies in, we're lower than a lot of third world countries, which is just insane.
Yeah, I there wasn't
Um,
there something around that we're actually creating generations of children where their parents may outlive them.
yeah,
Like, that's scary.
yeah, exactly. And I'm, I don't know if we've talked about Ozempic and that on here. I think it's a good tool. I
Mhm,
don't think it should be the solution. But they were talking about spending all this money on making Ozempic free basically, which would have cost like $6 trillion a year or something like that, because 40% of the population need it. And they were talking about giving it to kids who are 6 years old.
yeah,
And people are like, well, you could give everybody a gym membership, organic food, all of that for the same price.
yep,
Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't
yeah,
we solving what the actual problem is versus just trying to patch it? And again, that's because there's been this lack of leadership, lack of people
yes,
saying, no, 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 no,
yeah,
that's not right. We follow our. Okay, I'm trying not to go on a rant here, but I can't help it when these things come up. It's like, to be a leader, you need to have principles, and you need to be able to say when you feel like those principles, that line's being crossed.
yep,
I never come into a situation like, if I'm with the kid's pediatrician, I'm never going to say I know more than them.
mhm,
I'm never questioning their intellect or their judgment. But at the end of the day, these are my children. I lead the family along with their mother.
mhm,
So we're going to make the decisions. And I think just that's a small example, but just in general, we've let people tell us what we should eat. We've let people tell us what medications we should take. We've let people tell us what treatments we should be giving kids and stuff like that. Not enough people have stood up and said, no, wait, I want to do my own research into this
Yeah.
and make my own decision. And thankfully, we're seeing more of that now. But it's just an example of this lack of leadership that there's been. And then when you are a leader, you get called out. You know, you're a conspiracy theorist or this. But where that comes from is those people are cowards and don't realize that they're not
Fear.
leaders,
Yep.
and they're
Lack of
scared.
fear.
They're scared when a leader comes along.
Yeah.
You know, so that's completely gone off tangent there, but it comes to come back to leadership. It is about just having principles and sticking with them.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't change your mind on stuff, but you have to have your principles. And if you can't have control over whether those principles are stuck to or not, then what do you have control over?
No. And how do you make decisions, right? So you use the word principles, we use the word core values. Like
Mm.
everyone has a set of values that they operate with. Whether you've written them down or actually really thought about them, these are what you use to make decisions. And leaders utilize their core values to make decisions, consistent decisions, right? So they can
Yeah,
show up consistently. So that's how trust is built. If your children or your spouse or your coworker doesn't know what to expect from you, one minute you make a decision based on this, one minute you make a decision based on that. The expectations can't get set. So you're a very unsafe place for them, right? One time your child comes to you with a problem, you're open, you hear it, you come from a place of understanding and working with them. Another time you're having a really bad day and you have no bandwidth left and they come to you and you know, snap at them.
yeah,
And then we wonder why we don't have good relationships.
yeah,
So yeah, so leadership, consistency, core values, really just sitting down and we do an exercise where we call it the hero exercise. And I'm learning a lot of people actually have an issue with the word hero. They're like, I don't have any heroes, right? Like I had to make my own way. And so sometimes I'll work to not get them focused on the word hero, but who is it in your life? You could know them, you could not know them, they could be real, they could be fake, they could be alive, they could be past. Who do you admire? What were the traits? What's the characteristics of those people? Things that you want to have in your life. And I'll have them circle, like I'll have them write 5 to 7 for each person and then go back through and circle 5 and then rate themselves. Where are you in your life? If integrity was one of them, okay, well, where are you in integrity? Are you at a
yeah,
5? Are you at a 7? Are you at a 10? And then that's how you can really hone in on becoming a better leader.
yeah,
Um, okay, how do I operate in more integrity? You know what? I got this decision because you always get challenged. Ooh, it'd be so much easier to just avoid this, or it'd be so much easier just to make this easy decision, but is it in alignment with my core values?
yeah,
Um, so a simple exercise that anyone can do, and I
yeah.
think
And
should do.
having your core values and then most importantly living by them. I think there are people I know who think they're leaders, they think they're great, you know, great managers, great leaders, but they're just full of shit. Like
Mhm.
they say one thing and then don't actually do the thing that they say they do. And then you're just like, why the hell am I going to follow you
Mhm.
if you don't do what you're telling me to do? You know what I mean?
Doesn't work in
And
parenting, doesn't work in
no,
business.
with anything. An example, I needed help with something this week. I won't go into it on here, but I reached out to a mentor of mine who I've mentioned them on here a couple of times now. But I needed some help with something, and I went to them, and he's someone I consider a real leader. Like he lives by the values that he preaches.
Mhm.
Number one, and then number two, just my what what I don't like to be in relationships where I don't feel like I can always bring at least 51% of value.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's always like you and I were like 50-50, but sometimes one of us will give it the extra percent, and there's a lot of give and take. And definitely I do bring, I'm not saying I don't bring any value to the relationship, but what I can do for him is a lot less at this stage than he can do for me.
Mm.
And I never feel that way. And
Mm.
I went for some help with something, and he gave me more time than we had scheduled, and has given me a lot of help ever since. And it's just like, that's a leader. That's someone who lives by the principles they have, those core values of just doing right by people. And again, why I trust him so much is I see him living those values, and he
Yeah.
doesn't stray from them,
Mhm.
and that's really important. And that's where you have. I don't think people look through that lens enough of like, okay, if no, what, like, they don't have that bullshit filter of, okay, they're saying that, but actually
Yeah.
they don't actually do that. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Well, let me offer this to you. If there's whoever you're talking about, I pretty much guarantee they would not give you time, the extra time, if they didn't see you taking action, if they didn't see your
Yeah.
true drive. And because a lot of people will come to leaders and they want, right? It's like a handout. What are you going to give me? What can I get from you? But leaders with integrity, leaders that know that there's only so much time in the day, they may say yes to a lot of people. Okay, this person's asking for help. I'll say yes. But once you realize this person doesn't actually want to grow or take action, it is your responsibility as a
Yeah.
leader to not. And John Maxwell, I asked John Maxwell, he was kind of one of the first people I started studying around leadership. And I think, he kind of was in a time with Zig Ziglar and, all of like the,
The OGs.
yeah, like the grandfathers. And it was really, I think, when there was a movement from management to leadership
Hmm.
and these conversations came out. And you can get really sucked dry if you don't know how to protect yourself as a leader. If you think that you have to motivate people, like I learned a long time ago, you cannot motivate someone. You can only tap into what motivates them. But in order to tap into what motivates them, you have to know what motivates them. And that means you have to have conversations. You have to have
Hmm.
relationships. You can't just lead with a closed door and a title. But I asked John about that, and he said, say no to the needy so you can say yes to the hungry.
Yeah.
And that really had a huge impact on me. And he also said you can only save the people swimming towards the boat. Um, but there's a lot of needy people out there. And listen, there's sometimes you got to just come in and help somebody. Um, but being able to identify who's needy and who's hungry and who you're gonna continue to pour into, because it goes both ways. As a
Yeah.
leader, you're always growing, so you need leaders that are further down the road than you in places that you want to go. And then when you are helping someone, it's like it's just deepening your leadership strengths and characteristics, even more. It's why I can get up on stages even though I'm shaking, because it's not about me,
Yeah.
right? It's about the people in front of me. And you and I talk about this. Even if we impact one person, just one person, it's worth
Yeah.
it.
That's how I always felt with my music. I'm like, if just one person has some kind of emotion, from the song, then
Yeah.
I don't care if it ever gets placed with someone or if it ever goes on radio.
Yeah.
That to me made it all worth it. Um,
You
because a
just said
couple
a
things
key
you said
word,
there, yeah, there's a
emotion.
couple things you said I wanted to like go down the road. One of them we were talking about the OGs. I saw this great. It's a little off topic, but I saw this great clip of Wayne Dyer,
Mhm.
who I know he really impacted Ed Milet, who's someone I really like. So
Yeah.
I want to dig into his stuff. But there was a clip of him saying, this does point to leadership, because part of being a leader is being self-aware.
Mhm.
And I don't think enough people are self-aware of, for all the stuff I talk about that I really know,
Mhm.
I know what I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, and another off-topic thing, I was talking with someone about this the other day, just how I have this great, no one knows I'm doing it, and maybe
Mhm.
I shouldn't alert people to it, but I will more than happily, if I'm talking with someone, and I
Mhm.
do it with people who are really, like, really close to me,
Mhm.
I'll pretend I don't know about a topic and just let them act like, they're talking like they know about something. I won't disagree with them. I won't try and correct them. I just kind of sit there and be like, oh, cool. Because what I'm doing there is I'm saying, all right, if they're gonna sit there and bullshit me about something that they don't know about, if they're gonna, they're probably bullshitting me about the things they claim they know about, right? Like, they don't know that I know all this stuff, and they're sitting there trying to educate me on it or tell me about it.
Mhm.
So, do they actually know anything? You know what I mean? Like, so that's how I kind of gauge people. So I do that. Well, anyway, Wayne Dyer thing. He said, you can have an orange and squeeze it. Doesn't matter. what the temperature is, what the external environment is. If you squeeze an orange juice is going to come out. And he said that's exactly the same as it doesn't matter what triggers you, what the emotions are, how you are inside is never going to change. So it's up to you to change that.
Mhm.
So stop letting all these external things, who said what to you, who upset you, all of this stuff, what the situations are. You have to be the one that's responsible for what's inside, because otherwise orange juice is just going to keep coming out.
Mhm.
If you want to change the juice, you've got to change the fruit. You have to change
Agreed.
yourself.
Yeah.
That last bit was me. That was quite a good
Oh,
little
it's a
little line.
Pauloism.
Yeah.
Pauloism. Pauloism. You keep saying the word, so I have to highlight it as emotion, right? You talk about a music, if you can evoke emotion. You just
Yeah.
talked about, Wayne and Ed and about emotions. Logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. So
Yeah.
logically, you could think the most logical thoughts. We know logically things we should do. If
Yeah.
logic made you act, then we'd all be doing exactly what we knew we should be doing. And I would say don't shit all over yourself, but emotion is what makes you act. So doesn't logically our conscious brain can be thinking one thing, but our subconscious mind, and you probably have some things to add into that. I kind of figure that as like the railroad tracks, like you're really on this track. And even though your conscious mind's going, I don't want to eat bad food, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Your subconscious brain is like, who are you kidding? Like, that's not what we do. Like, we do this.
Right.
So you really have to get into the emotions. And that's what we talk about. What is it important to you about going to the gym? Okay, to be in good health. What's important about having good health? Well, so that I can, have energy. Okay, well, what does having energy do for you? Well, I can keep up with my kids. Okay, well, what's important about keeping up with your kids? And you start to get down to these emotional driving factors. We talked about this on the podcast when we were talking about goals. We were talking about what are the emotions that you're looking to achieve, not the monetary. That's all a byproduct of all this
Yeah.
stuff. So the emotions, and you keep saying it, like that's what make you act. So you got to check in with your emotions. You can't pretend like they don't exist because that's going to be how you drive your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think leaders definitely are aware of their emotions. And it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that, I think we hold people to this standard of we should all be able to control our emotions. And and that I forget if I said it while we were recording or before we were recording,
Mhm.
just how it's almost nice to hear that you had those emotions before you were speaking, because
Yeah.
to me I'm like, she's a rock.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna phase her. But
I
like,
am a
no,
rock.
she's a fucking human. Right?
I am a rock and I am nervous. Like it's not an either or, it's a both.
Yeah.
Because I'm a rock and I'm confident is the reason that I don't pull the covers over my head and make an excuse to not show up.
Yeah.
But I show up and nerves and excitement are felt in the same place in the body.
Hmm.
And because I'm a high ID, all my emotions are like just right out on my sleeve. I'm terrible at a poker face. And a leader is not about being perfect. Right? Like,
No.
that gave you a little bit like, "Oh, okay, that makes me feel good." So when I stand up there and I say, "Hey, guys, you know what? I'm sorry, give me a second. I gotta take a deep breath," because my
Yeah.
words started, like, jumbling together. And in that moment, I could have been worried about being judged, and of course, I'm always worried about that. I don't let it stop me, though. But for the 10 people that judge me and the 2 or 3 people are like, "Oh, hey, like, she's been really great. I've had amazing conversations with her. The stuff she's presenting is great." And she just stood in front of us and said, "Hey, give me a second," you know?
Yeah.
It that's leaders are always failing forward, always
Yeah. Well,
failing forward.
I think real leaders. I was listening to it was Hormozy on the Diary of a CEO actually.
Mhm.
It's a 3 hour episode. I haven't gotten. I don't think
Wow.
I'm even a third of the way through it, but it's really good so far. I like Alex a lot. But they were saying, and they didn't come up with this. I forget who did. It was a lady. But real leaders are only gonna. They know that they can only bring about 20% with them. So
Mhm.
you have to know that you're going to piss off, you're going to upset 80% of the audience you're speaking to in order to get that 20,
Yeah.
you
I had
know?
one guy
And
falling
and so,
asleep.
yeah, exactly. Like real leaders will appreciate that and not get stuck on trying to impact everybody. And I think when you try and impact everybody, that's when you stop being an authentic. or you stop being authentic and you start bullshitting
Yeah.
because you're trying to like get that guy over there and that guy over there. They want different things. They have different emotions, etc., etc. Um,
And the information can only meet them where they're at.
yeah,
Like, you might get the same information today that you got 2 years ago. It's gonna probably resonate or impact you differently today than
that
it would
happens a
2 years
lot.
ago.
I mean, the amount of self-development stuff that I consume, it happens all the time, and that's why I
Yeah,
continue to do it
yeah.
because even Gary Vaynerchuk's a big one with that. Like, I don't listen to his stuff as much anymore, but for
Mhm.
4 or 5 years, I was like consuming his stuff every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes there were things he'd say like 3 years apart. I'm like, oh, now I fucking get it.
Yep.
Now I get it. And he's been saying it every day for 3 years, but he said it the way he said it there was exactly what stuck with me.
Yep.
But
And you gotta keep
he's someone
repeating
who, well, we'll talk off camera about that. But
it.
um,
I
he's a leader in the sense that he, for the most part, it seems, lives how he preaches.
Yeah.
He's not about the fancy watches and all this, and that's the thing, right? If you're telling people it's not about the watches and all this, and then you see them rocking a nice watch, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, what? As a state is what really annoys me with a lot of these these health and fitness influencers, or even just people, trainers and whatnot, saying this is how you need to live, this is how you need to eat. Don't consume that, don't consume that, and
Yeah.
then they're popping like these awful energy drinks and all
Yeah.
this shit. You're like, well, you're not leading by example there, are you?
Yeah.
Why should I listen to you?
Yeah.
It's like when you walk in a room and a doctor looks unhealthy, and like, why am I going to listen to
Listening
you?
to you. Well, the perception is reality,
Yeah,
right? So let's go to the materialistic stuff, the watches, the cars, the this, the that. Because I always love to talk about this. You don't need any of that, right? But you do need to support yourself. So I call it like, what's your uniform, right?
yeah,
What do you feel you're best in? Right. So when you're on stage or when you're presenting or when you're going into a meeting or you're going out to dinner with, the person you love most in this world and you want to feel and look your best, it is your responsibility to know like what you feel great in. What do you feel powerful in? Sam
yeah,
is constantly yelling at me, stop backing up because I start to shrink, especially when I'm with him on stage. I don't even realize I'm doing it. So when I'm like, what shoes am I going to wear? What shoes, what I, I have a Rolex. I love watches, right? No one knows. I represented a property for almost 6 years before I sold it, and I double-ended it, and it was almost $100,000 commission. I bought myself a watch with a a
because
a
it
a
took so much
portion of that.
time to.
For what because it was something I didn't stick it on a credit card, I wanted to be able to pay for it, straight out. I certainly could have invested it or done other things, but I'm gonna be perfectly honest. When I am sitting in front of 5 CEOs of one of the of huge companies, I would be lying if I said that that doesn't influence people in some way, shape, or form, right? Because they will view this person, okay, she's wearing a watch. I like Rolex. I know that that costs. She must have a certain level of success. Now, it could all be fake. It could be a fake Rolex. So I'm not saying it has to be that, but have your uniform. What do you feel great in? It doesn't have to have the best car in the world. Do you keep your car clean? Like those are things. Are you taking pride in how you appear?
Yeah,
And it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be. But and if you're being financially responsible, and I guess that's open subject to conversation, if there's things that make you feel great, for God's sake, do it. Like you
yeah,
don't have to be humbled all of the time.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, and
Now,
I think it's just the difference is doing it from a place within,
yeah,
like this is making you feel better versus what you think will make other people. It's a fine line because I do agree there are, and it's partly a shame on society, right? That, if you walk into a room with some high level folks and they're checking out the shoes you're wearing, the watch you got on, and when you pull your wallet out, they're seeing who's it made
mhm,
by, and and all of that. Perception is very important, but it's just, I guess it's really knowing what when you tie that to your value as a person,
Yeah.
because like you said, there's a uniform aspect to it. Yes,
Mhm.
definitely agree with that. But it's just whether you feel like you're enough without it in the first place.
Yeah. Oof. I'm gonna
You
say
know?
it. I hope he doesn't kill he doesn't get upset about this. I don't think he will. I bought Ben a really nice watch for Christmas. Actually, he didn't even know this. I actually had it for his birthday, but we were dating so new at that point. I was like, this is too much, but I really wanted him to have it. And I waited till Christmas. And he has nice watches and they look great on him. Like you could think that they're super expensive watches. He wears them well. And I could see, like, this turmoil when he opened it. He's like, "I've never had something so nice or so expensive," and he was like, "I didn't feel worthy of it," and then we had this whole conversation. It was like he was finally realizing, like, I am it's not about not being worthy, right? It's this crazy thing, and I said to him, like, for women too, like, clothes, watches, whatever, a true man wears the watch and wears the clothes. Someone who's a faker, man or woman, they let their clothes wear them, right? They lead with
Oh,
that.
I was just about to say, there's something great I saw online, and this is where you need to stay in shape, look good, feel good, because it's not like how the suit looks on you, it's who's
Mhm.
wearing the suit.
Yeah,
Like I know I can wear $100 suit and look better than someone who's wearing a $5,000 suit,
yeah,
because if it's fitting right, I'm gonna look better than them.
yeah,
So that's the value I put my value in my health.
yes.
So there's, like you said, you can fake it to an extent. Like you can see
Yeah.
a dude in a watch, but like if you look like a slob, I don't respect you.
That's a whole other conversation, as you as a tendency, as you get more successful and make more money, a lot of people there's less focus on actually taking care of yourself because there's less time. You don't have enough time to exercise, but you can buy the nicer things. And it's like you almost try to make up for it. And I'm constantly like, I want to go shopping in my own closet. I don't want to buy more, I don't know, perimenopause or what the heck it is, but it's like I've been struggling for a while now, like trying to lose the weight. And you can only buy so many more clothes, right? And you just it's such a waste of time and money, and I do invest in my personal health, so it's not like I'm not doing that, but it's an interesting point because it does become a crutch for, like, who looks great naked.
Well, yes, but and I wanna just make sure that no one takes what I'm saying to be about. It's not about if you're overweight or underweight. It's just
Yeah.
about your health. Like there's a look that people like. You look healthy. Doesn't
Mm,
matter if you feel like you're overweight or if you feel like you need to put weight on. Like you look healthy.
mm,
There are people that they just don't look healthy.
mm,
They can be thin, but they're in their suit and they just don't look healthy.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So like
Mhm.
it's just that. It's not. I know. I
I
feel like
understand what you're
we're kind of,
saying.
yeah, but and we've kind of
I'm
gotten away
coming
from
from the
leadership. But
confidence projection
yeah, there's
point.
projection. Yeah, but it has to be authentic too.
Yes. Well, yeah, so if
Like
you don't feel good in your own body,
yeah,
I definitely have to fake part of that. Like, I feel good about me, but when there's times I'm like, "Oh, this doesn't really look like how I want to."
yeah.
This is just vulnerable authenticity here, and I'm like, I'm the one responsible for it.
Well,
But
here's a great example, right?
yeah,
I think, and we've totally gone off topic here. But I mean, this is the thing,
this is
right?
leadership.
Yeah, but these are just conversations we have.
Yeah,
You guys just get to listen to them. And this is how you got to work through stuff, because I'm sure we're going to get to the point eventually. But I,
eventually.
I I could sit at a table with people worth collectively billions of dollars.
Mm,
I won't have a nice watch on. I'll obviously dress appropriately, but I know I could sit there and we could be trying to choose the wine, for
mhm,
example. I know that I probably know more about wine than most of them,
Mhm.
and that would come across in the conversations,
Yeah.
and then they would take me more seriously. So like that knowledge is my Rolex,
Yeah.
or my, my whatever shoes I don't even know what nice brands of shoes are. I don't care. But that's my point. So it's knowing what your values are, having that self-awareness.
Mhm.
That's what's going to put you in those positions. So, maybe, like you buying that Rolex wasn't you buying a Rolex to impress people. It was a reward for your hard work,
Like
and that
what
hard
Fred
work
said.
was able to afford it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's
Yeah.
why you can walk in. Whereas like I could go and finance a Rolex right now, show up, and it's not authentic.
Yeah.
There's a big difference, and it all comes down to authenticity.
Yeah.
And leaders are authentic, and that's
Yeah.
how I tied that shit back together like a
Yes, you
pretty
did.
bow.
Perfect for Valentine's Day, which I know this will be airing next week, but it is Valentine's Day. So a nice little gift package. Um these are leadership conversations. These are real conversations when you get in a room with one person, and maybe the whole world is listening or no one's listening, or you get in the room with 100 people or 10,000 people. These are real conversations, and that's what leaders do. Leaders lead the way. Leaders don't just kind of say, okay, there's change coming, we have to do it. Like, leaders lead it. Leaders empower other people. Leaders will say, you know what, this scares you, lean on my belief. Because even if I don't fully believe it, I'm going to believe it because I'm committed to it.
Yeah.
And being committed, taking actions based off of your core values and your characteristics and all of those things. Certainly not a title, certainly not, a lot of my girlfriends will be like, oh, you're a leader, or this person's a leader. And I'm like, well, you don't have to show up the way I show up to be a leader. It doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing what you want to do. Yes, might make more decisive, faster decisions. I also set a lot more things on fire. So
Yeah. But
just
and
be
that's something that we don't really cover yet. It's just that taking the responsibility when that stuff happens is a
yeah,
big part of leadership. Like having
yeah,
accountability around the decisions you make.
yeah,
When someone can apologize for something, or just say I was wrong about that,
yeah.
I respect that way more than someone who just acts like it's someone else's fault, or that
Mhm.
it didn't really go wrong. We pretended it was a success.
Right.
It's like, no, that we can see and hear, like we know that wasn't right, but
Yeah,
you're still acting like it was. So
yeah.
that's not a leader to me.
Trust out the window. Like, if some
Yeah.
exactly. We talked about it with what released yesterday with Kristen, we pointed out it's not being a leader or being an entrepreneur or being someone that forges a path in this world. It's not about making all of the right decisions. She's like, I'm pretty much unstoppable, right? And you're unstoppable because when you make the wrong decisions or the missteps or not the best decision, you course correct it as quickly as possible.
Right.
And you don't need to do it in the shadows. And like you just said, it's way better. People will trust and follow you more when they realize that you're not just BSing um your way through
Yeah, and
everything.
that, in the health space, I don't, and I should do it. And this is me knowing as a leader, I need to be a bit more vocal about stuff, but I don't really post all that much about it, as much as I could or should.
Mhm.
But people will ask, they'll come to me, and because they see me living a healthy
Like
life.
like me. I'm always sending you all the Instagram things. Does this thing work? Is this any good? What do you think about this? Right? Because I'm
Right. But
confused.
yeah, but if like when we get coffee, if you see me grabbing I'm like, don't have seed oils, and then you see me like get some fried shit,
Right.
and again, you can,
Yes.
I'm not saying everyone has to be 100% of everything. You can have a
Mhm.
little bit, I like the 80/20 rule in general.
Mhm.
Um, but it's just, yeah, if you see someone not acting the way that they are claiming to act, it,
Mhm.
it throws your leadership out the window.
Yep.
So it's like, going back to being a parent, if your kids, if you want your kids to do something, you better be doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Like Mason knows what he should and shouldn't eat. He knows what he
Mhm.
shouldn't drink.
Mhm.
and but a lot of it is because he'll look at me and see me not doing those things,
Yeah.
so he wants to model that.
Yeah.
And so leadership is everywhere. It really is. It doesn't have to just be in the corporate space. And that really was the message we wanted
Yeah.
to drive home today, was just everybody can and should be a leader in some way or another. And it's just identifying what your core values are and what you want to how you want to show up
Yeah.
in the
Well,
environment you're in.
and I want to say everyone is a leader. Every single person is a leader. It's just, are you making positive impact or are you making negative impact?
Yeah.
I really don't believe in neutral conversations. It's to me, it's you're either positively impacting or you're negatively
Yeah.
impacting. And so whoever's listening to this, you are a leader. You have the choice every day with how you show up. And I want to leave this world a better place than I found
Yeah.
it.
You know, I was just thinking about, because I think people think leader, you got to be the CEO, you got to be the top dog. It doesn't have
Mhm,
to be that way. I love Patrick Bet-David, consume a lot of his content, read
mhm.
all his books. Great guy, great story. He has someone on the team. His name's Tom Ellersworth, and he said, I wish it didn't take me 52 years to figure out I'll make more money being number two at a
Yes.
company. And he's like the number two, but he's a leader. He still
Yep,
leads.
yep,
And, Patrick has him there because he knows he's a leader.
yep,
Leaders need leaders around them,
yeah,
you know, and
absolutely.
then the leaders need leaders too. So that's something society, because of how everything's been, leaders are starting to find each other, and we're starting to see, some good things happen. But it, being a leader doesn't mean you have to be number one.
No. No, I mean, how many people have worked in a company or been on a sports team where there's just someone that people naturally flock to, right? And they're
Yeah.
typically not. I mean, if you look at look at hockey, and if you look at some of the team captains, they're great players. They're not the best players on the team
Right.
often. But they're either a natural leader, and I do believe in natural leaders. I think there is just a skill that leans people more in towards a heightened leadership role,
Yeah.
that maybe you take it further. It's just more of a drive. You don't have to be. Um, but there's just I think it's so fascinating because you'll see titles and the executives, but then there's these people that don't have the titles, but they have the most influence, and they're either using it for negative and they're rallying everybody up in the company,
Yeah.
or they're using it for positive, right? And they know they have impact. Nothing to
Yeah.
do with
And
title.
influence is a big part of leadership, right?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that's that's a word we didn't really use that much during this conversation, but that really is, if you have any kind of influence and you're able to have any kind of impact, you're a
Mhm,
leader.
mhm. And everyone has influence.
Yeah.
Everyone. So, like, this conversation is for everyone, like, whether you wanna believe it, whether you have a limiting belief or not, that you're a leader, that you have influence and you make impact, we're telling you right now that you
Yeah.
do.
And that
And
doesn't mean you have to be out there screaming from the rooftops about these are my core values and this is how you should act.
yeah,
No, it's just you live your life with those core values, and believe me, people will follow you. And
yeah,
whether that's just your kids or whether that's just one or two people in your life, they'll follow you.
yep, yep.
But no one's going to follow someone who's not leading.
No. And not only will they follow you, we talk a lot about accountable leadership and accountability being the highest form of leadership. Those are the relationships, work and personal, where the people that you're around go, I would rather die than let you down, because I know that you would rather die than let me down.
Yeah.
Like you and I, we have to change times and this and that, but I never take it frivolously. And I know you don't either. Like, oh, shoot, I got to switch this up on Paolo, or maybe we need to do something. I I never want to let you down, and I think that's true accountable leadership, when you act like that and move like that and live like that, and the people around you are doing that because like you just
Yeah.
have each other's backs.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's a great place to wrap it all up.
Wrap it all up.
Yeah, I like that. That was a lot of went down a lot of different paths there, but came back to it. You know, as you said, if you everybody's a leader, so start
Everyone.
thinking of yourself as one.
Yes, I am a leader. That's the identity statement. I am a leader.
Yeah.
All right, friends. Until next time, bye for now.